Hello there. Welcome to the Band Batch ANDOR Music Breakdown. I'm Chrysanthi. You can call me Xanthi. And today is part of the Band Batch. I'm here with Christina today. It's just going to be the two of us to review the music and sound in ANDOR Season 2, Episodes 4 through 6, Arc 2 of ANDOR Season 2. We have James and Justin are absent today, so they have their memorial bricks. Rest in peace, you two.
Indeed, uh, the brick has been laid.
So, there's already people in chat. Sorry you can't be here too, Justin. Uh, we have some very first comments. Hi, everybody. Hi, Masked Jedi. Justin says Clea is scary. We'll get into that. I love Clea personally.
Hmm.
We should have killed Krennic while we were there was the best line. That was pretty good. And finally, yeah. And what's his name? Luthen actually laughed at that. I feel like he doesn't laugh very much anymore, unless he's like faking it at a party. Gary24 fan, hello all. Finally, I'm able to join you for the full live show today. Let's go. Yes. Bye, Gorst,
Yay!
bye. Love the radio sounds. Yes. Rest in peace, Warrior Queen. Okay, good. That's kind of like a summary of the first three episodes, I suppose. I mean, of these middle episodes. Yeah, so what were your thoughts? Like high level kind of overall thoughts on this set of episodes, Christina, and feel free to of course weigh in on the music and sound.
Yeah, I what I would say is that the first two episodes, I'm gonna struggle all the whole time by saying first two and second and third because I'm really talking about fourth and fifth and sixth.
Yeah.
So the fourth and fifth episodes had a bit of a different vibe, I thought, than the sixth episode. And the fourth and fifth were also different from the previous three. I feel like they returned to the Andor season one kind of 80s synth film noir. Yeah, I feel like they returned to that feel. Um, yeah, sorry, I described it as synthy 80s thriller and noir expression. And in particular, that was connected to scenes where Caspian or other spies are walking around. There was a lot of spy sleuthing, and they did a lot of synth for that. Um, Anything with Luthen, and we had the classic Luthen in the dark cape in the dark tunnel a few times, and then Caspian and Bix in their rainy, kind of sad apartment with their anxious feelings. That was
Yeah.
also, I thought, kind of a return to Andor season one feel. But
Mm-hmm.
then episode six kind of returned to the Andor season two arc one feel, where it was more orchestral, less synthy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's
my overarch.
yeah. I don't know if you knew this, but Nicholas Bertel scored the first two episodes, and Brandon Roberts scored the third episode. And you can really tell, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
Yeah. So that
related to their
explains.
styles.
Yeah, which I think clears up. Like we were talking last week about how they possibly are trying to bridge the orchestral gap, like go from synth to orchestral by the end of the season. And I think this arc probably showed that it's maybe not as cohesive of a strategy as they intended, because this did have a return to the sound from last season, the first two episodes
Hmm.
at least.
Does the lack
And
of cohesivity bother you, or do you think it's nice, kind of like when you get Neapolitan ice cream or something, or just two flavors, something?
the lack of cohesiveness in the music does bother me a little bit. And just last arc, I remember saying that the new sound sometimes just felt underwhelming, but also I couldn't tell if it was just because there was more action. So maybe the nature of doing action scenes, that's just what it called for, and maybe just the episode in general, not just the music, was different. but I did think the music in last arc was overall less strong, with some highlights, of course, but was less strong. But then hearing that they were trying to bridge this gap to Rogue One, I that kind of helped ameliorate the feelings. Like, okay, maybe they're onto something. But then this arc showed where I liked where the music in the first two episodes was more like season one. I was like, okay, so maybe that's not gonna help me sleep better. Is that idea, because it was very still like season one. It bothers me a little bit. I mean, and that's just because I hold Andor to such a high standard of like
That is
craftsmanship.
how it works. We do apply more criticism to the things that we love sometimes.
Yeah, because like, and the thing is, Andor or Nicholas Bertel didn't score most of the third episode, so but I went into it thinking that he scored the whole arc. So when we got to the action stuff at the end of episode six, I was like, okay, well, this is kind of boring. This is kind of generic action ostinato. So I guess Nicholas Bertel does that for Andor too. But then I saw that actually it was Brandon Roberts. But Nicholas
Yeah,
Bertel just like he just hasn't had a moment to score like that. So maybe if he did score that, he would have done a similar thing. I don't know.
that's a good question. Maybe we should talk about episode 6 since that's the one that is kind of is like arc 1 and is kind of directly in like the things that I noted that were kind of nice. I remember noting um I noted that there was like clear and simple orchestration of melodies a lot of the time. Like it was like one instrument with a melody and then just like traditional support from the ensemble. I'm gonna let Ziggy out so she stops crying.
Okay. And everyone in chat, like, what did you think? Like, feel free to weigh in, please.
Um, yeah, and then there was uh I made a note about like I guess that would be in the 28-minute kind of note with when Mon and Perrin are arriving to Skolden's party. I enjoyed like some sweeping orchestral notes. Um, and then the only other note I had regarding like orchestral music from that episode was towards the beginning, like at 7:30ish, Vel says, "I have friends everywhere," and then there was an interesting plucked string instrument. I did
Yeah.
enjoy that. Do you know much about? Do you remember? I don't know what instrument it would be, but I remember thinking, "Oh, this might be a like
Yeah,
a
I do
something
remember.
non-traditional."
Yeah, so okay, so first I'm listening to the 28-minute mark around there where they're arriving
Mm,
at the party,
yeah.
and that's when they're kind of talking about politics and stuff. Um, yeah, that is kind of like the Mon. It's like anyway, it's doing kind of the Mon Mothma espionage theme, but with like string instruments primarily. I think in harp maybe, and then the I have friends everywhere is which I I think is interesting. That line like stuck out to me because the previous episode is called "I have friends everywhere," but they say "I
Hmm.
have friends everywhere." Here, what is it like around 7:20 or something?
Yeah, I wrote around 7:30, which means it's almost for sure a little earlier than what I wrote.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like it's like the waltz, like the Gorman waltz,
Hmm.
kind of. Um,
Right.
yeah.
Um, these episodes did. There are a few themes that seem to, th and I guess I don't mean musical themes mostly because I'm not as good at tracking musical themes. I'm better at tracking like dramaturgical themes. But the theme of uh, the court dance or the we'll just call it the colloquial dance, like a dance and music related to a special place, seems to be recurring, and I really appreciated a moment. Maybe I'm jumping a bit, but in episode 4, Ever Been to
Hmm.
Gorman, there was a nice moment where Bix and Cassian were sort of hand dancing as
Right.
if they were, and it seems like they were kind of doing the motions of a real dance, maybe. And I thought that was nice that they're continuing this choreographed dance motive.
Interesting. I interpreted what they were doing as just like having an intimate moment, like maybe kind of mirroring each other, maybe. But it did kind of also look like a dance.
Yeah, like maybe one of those dances where it's a lot about like one person offers their hand and the next person like places their hand and then they do kind of like a move and then the next one kind of like it could have totally been just improvised beautiful moment between the two of them, but I did get a sort of rhythm rhythm to their movements and and it made me think of how in the wedding their culture is not suppressed and so the dance is fine and they do it proudly, but for Cassian and Bix, you know, their culture has been attacked by the Empire, and so the nature of their maybe dance moment is also is similarly, you know, reflects that.
Yeah. And the music was like kind of romantic, right? Like
Hmm.
it was like it was like it was like I mean it was very simple, but it was very like consonant intervals and yeah. It was interesting to hear like a pseudo romantic, like a somewhat romantic thing there. And then it got kind of
Yeah,
sad, but it was very
yeah.
slow and what's interesting, okay, I'm listening, is I feel like, and I don't know if this is on purpose, but many of the themes share the same chord progressions or are living very much harmonically in similar worlds. So I can easily hear usually like a couple things superimposing in my head on top of just like simple chord progressions like that.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. Thank you
Interesting.
for telling me that my keyboard could be louder. Okay. Um yeah. Let's see. Music in this arc reminded me of Mass Effect games, especially the start of episode 5. I'm not familiar with the music of those. Um, but if anyone can weigh in, please do. Ender says it was
Mm.
intended by the creators as a Ferrex dance slash ritual thing. Okay, then. Yep. You and Christina. Yep, you're right then. I loved the hand thing. Yeah, it felt like a traditional Ferrex thing. Cool.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was very special moment of them not just being intimate with each other, but kind of remembering something that kind of only exists in their memory now. I guess I admit I can't remember to what level the Empire ended up devastating Ferrix, but I'm just going to assume not good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of their pattern. So yeah, that was a really beautiful moment. But I did accidentally jump all the way from episode 6 to episode 4 when we were previously. Did you have anything else in episode 6 when we were talking about this uh, more orchestral sound world?
I mean, just that it was less interesting at the end when it was the action cue for me. I'm thinking
Yeah.
around like and it was really long too. Like it lasted a long time. So I think also the action, it's like maybe another thing again that is working against action cues for me is that oftentimes the filmmakers rely on them for a longer stretch of time than other music. Cuz it's like the main like there's not a lot of talking or anything. It's like really the movement and the action music. I don't know. What do you all think of? I'm thinking episode 6 around like 36, 35 is one spot. It kind of lasts for a long time, so that's just one part in time. It really starts at like probably 34 or something. like 30. Yeah, it's like it's like dig 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 do 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 do, where
Hmm.
it just feels repetitive and it feels like um predictable.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm curious because I wanted to rewatch the episode and I did not, but I can't remember anything about what was going on musically when Cinta died or when Vel was talking to the guy who was responsible for bringing the blaster. Um, because I mean, maybe because on the one hand, especially with the speech with Vel, that's because I think a lot of the focus was actually just on the actors and what they were doing. However, in general, for a death scene, the music is really important and is what helps us feel. Do you have any feelings about that moment, or
Hmm.
did it continue kind of the same thing you were thinking of with just like it didn't flower out of the predictable basic?
I'm pretty sure that when she died, there probably was either not any music or very soft. I'm
Yeah,
trying to.
that's what I'm thinking.
I'm trying to. I'm trying to. If anyone has a timestamp, let me know. Yeah, I
Oh,
think it was
I
quite
got the
because.
shot at 48:56.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, it did stay the same. It just is. Oh, it's doing the Andor theme.
Oh, I see. Oh yeah. Okay. So it is. There is more space in it
Hmm.
because at like 48:40, it starts with the pulses of the synth.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, and then this starts the most ridiculous music cue that did take me completely out of this. It was like a band version of the theme. It was very like, yeah,
You mean at the end with the like
very,
live drum set?
yeah. I thought
Oh,
that
I
was
really
really fascinating. Like, it totally took me out of the moment, being like, I mean,
like
not that
after
I
Bix.
disliked it necessarily, but I was like, oh, I feel like I'm just like at a cool band show all of a sudden. I don't
Mm.
know.
Do you remember when it happened in episode one? Sorry, episode season one, episode two or something. They did have a drum
Oh,
set
with the drum
moment.
set?
Yeah.
No.
Um, I liked it, but I think I liked it
Hmm.
also in season one. I perhaps liked it a little less that they did it again, but overall I liked it. It was like when Bix after Bix and Cassian were handling Dr. Gorst and then kind of triumphantly walking out of the thing they
Hmm.
blew up.
Hmm.
Yeah, I thought it
That
was
was
pretty
nice.
cool. It wouldn't have worked if it wasn't the thing immediately preceding the end credits, though.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, pretty much only worked
Um,
because it was
cute
leading to the credits.
cute things that happened at 28:40 again with Skolden's party paparazzi droid. I have been waiting to see a paparazzi droid. Very excited to see one.
Specifically, you've been waiting to see one.
I have because of Rill's character arc in the High Republic um, Nile things. She has her brain interfaced with
Oh,
her paparazzi droid.
it was kind of gruesome to see. I was like, oh,
Yeah, they're
how
all kind of
horrible. It was
gruesome.
taking
I
so many
realized that
photos.
I thought interrogator droids were really scary, but now I realize that DJ droids, interrogator droids, and paparazzi droids are kind of all similar, just like a floating orb with attachments.
You think DJ droids are
Fascinating.
scary?
I mean, initially, just because I was like, oh, like an interrogator droid,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do kind of look like that.
initially.
But the paparazzi
I
droid is
mean, if you
just,
didn't want it there, paparazzi droid was
yeah,
intense.
really intense. Like, yeah, just such an aggressive flash. It sounded pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool. And another nice moment was at 12:20 when I think it's when Cassian rings Luthen's doorbell. It was a really nice door chime. I really enjoyed that. It was a
Yeah,
very
I
pretty
wrote that down
tone.
too. It was like, but it was like, or something like that. It was a really cool
Hmm.
doorbell. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think most of the doorbells that I hear in media, including Star Wars, are a minor third. And I need to start tracking it because, like, often when I hear a doorbell, I'm like, and Dedra's doorbell is like that. But this one was
Hmm.
entirely different. It was like a, yeah, it was like a minor triad. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Other, I guess, cool stuff from the final episode. We're not really going in order. From episode 6 is when Mon Mothma. Is this the episode where Mon Mothma's talking to different senators, trying to convince them to? Oh no, no, that's episode 4.
I
Okay, never
have
mind.
a
That's no,
feeling that's, yeah,
it's episode
episode 4.
4. I wish I could keep them straighter in my head.
It's a little montagey. They make a point to, do it that way. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
actually,
yeah.
my notes about episodes 4 are also really sparse because I felt like it was like it was a really montagey episode in general. Like there
Episode
weren't,
4.
I don't know. I thought so, but
Mm. Do you feel like there was a a theme or musical piece or something that stood out in the episodes as like emerged as kind of a new mainstay for the series, or like was there a new theme that you really liked, or a new because I think there were a few new things, like a few new specific musical ideas.
was there anything connecting to Saul?
Saw Guerrera?
Um, yeah, uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
there
sorry,
was.
Saul. I feel like that would be a reasonable thing. And then, do we have any interesting like ISB music?
Yes, but I think it was all the old ISB music.
Same ISB music, yeah.
um Yeah, the Saw's music was really interesting, and also we should talk about Saw's portrayal in general, because Saw's music sounded kind of villainous. It was like almost like Kylo Renny, like
Mm-hmm.
it, and often like low brass, and like it often sounded like ominous, a little bit villainous,
I
which I
saw a post on the internet about like what's your favorite couple from Andor season 2, and it had a bunch of different couples, and then the last option was like Saul and the like dangerous explosives
Saw
as a
and
couple.
Rido.
Saw, yes, yes. Sorry.
Yeah, that was interesting. His little his little speech, or his little thing that he was telling Wilmon, or like Rido is my sister, or whatever. She's my sister, Rido, and she loves me. That was really something about that was. I'm still thinking about it because I was first introduced to Saw. Maybe people read comics and knew Saw before Rogue One, but I didn't. Rogue One was my first exposure to Saw, and I remember a lot of us were
Me too.
thinking, what's wrong? What happened to him? Why is he like this? Um, he had such an over the top um, display, and we see him in, I think, Clone Wars and the Bad Batch,
Oh, except for Clone
and we
Wars.
see
Except
him sort of not quite as, I don't know, off his rocker, and we see that he had a sister and that she died defending their homeworld, right? And he really loved his sister, and that probably really psychologically messed him up. Um, so specifically saying she's my sister, Rido, is very interesting. It's like, how literally should I take this? Like, on one hand, it's like, okay, so he huffs Rido, and that is kind of making his mind a little bit, I don't know, maybe he hallucinates, or maybe something alters his brain chemistry or something. Um, I don't know, maybe he sees his sister, or it's just something he loves that's part of him.
Yeah, I really, my historical knowledge of Saw is super incomplete, so I would be very interested in the chat. Although, as you were describing that, it made me think of Wilson Fisk from the Hell's Kitchen kind of universe, who's also kind of a like a bad guy, but he, I don't know, like I guess the new season of Daredevil is about him kind of. I don't know. He has like apprentice people who he trains, but they're like part of his family, but they're also kind of apprentices that never had a choice,
Hmm.
uh, which was a feeling that I got from certain things I've seen with Saw.
Are we
Just
supposed
pointing that
to
out.
think? I don't know, chat. You can let us know too. Are we supposed to think that Saw and his people are so hardcore and like fearless and just kind of quote unquote crazy because they huff the Rido? Is like, is that part of it? Is that maybe supposed to be part of what we're observing from all of that? Uh, it's interesting that Saw is he's obviously very hardcore and very paranoid, and he's the radical, but he does seem to have a fair amount of followers, disciples, like people who really believe in his strategy. So yeah, I think he very definitively got a theme that played many times, and so which makes me think he probably will be coming back in other arcs. Maybe not, but I don't know. Probably.
He's got Willman, so
That's true. That's true.
not in a good
Um,
way, I mean, but yeah.
I think that's Saw's thing specifically, but I think that it's more that Saw is a charismatic leader. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, he's a leader that seems to know what he wants and what to do, and I think having someone to look to that has such clear ideas probably is comforting in some way.
Absolutely, the Star Wars universe is very chaotic, and if you're trying to oppose the Empire, I'm sure it's really difficult to find who to support in doing that. And
Yeah.
so,
And then Gary24 fan said, an interrogator droid will just make you tell the truth. A paparazzi droid means someone is going to write some nasty shit about you on the HoloNet.
yep, it's
Yeah.
cute.
And then
Very true.
Arik Font says, Mon Mothma tells the senator from Gorman, if we don't stand together, we'll be crushed, which seems like a faux pas. Yeah, that probably was a faux pas. But I think it's interesting. I think I like seeing Mon Mothma still trying to politic, even though they're in the Empire. Like, Emperor Palpatine already is going to make it like impossible for anything good to happen, but she's still like very much trying. But it's really hard to get people on her side because, well, they're afraid of the wrath of the Empire, and that sucks. It's a difficult position for Gorman to be in for any senator. But yeah, Mon Mothma's still trying. I'd hate to be Mon Mothma.
Yeah, I don't. I get very anxious when I think about how she went from where she is in Andor right now to where she is in the actual rebellion kind of thing, and especially in the new government. Uh, I just it it kind of blows my mind that the Emperor doesn't get rid of her before this. Like it's like Gorman is his secret project. He's like he doesn't want anyone to support Gorman because he is going to destroy the planet. So and then she's taking up the issue and everybody yeah, it's very rough. Very rough.
Yeah, I can
So
also see how he wouldn't get rid of her because might as well have her wasting her time on that than
yeah,
doing other
maybe
stuff.
like it's like she serves the role as the token
Hmm.
opponent.
Yeah, and like also the ISB wants to frame Gorman protesters doing stuff as well, so they
Hmm.
probably need the facade of that. Gary 24 fan says, I don't think Saw's partisans huff the gas. It's just him, I feel like. He also has a great scene in Rebels where he challenges Mon Mothma to go that extra mile to defeat the Empire. Ah,
Mm, I hadn't remembered that
yeah, I
connection.
forgot about that. Um, hey, Alfie. Saw's crazy and charismatic, but is addicted to that rhydonium. His breathing mask seems very different now. Right. I thought it was oxygen before.
I do point out that his Rhydonium addiction could be, it might not be stemming initially from something recreational. Like maybe he, like with a lot of things, like you can't really tell if something is quality or pure or correct unless you smell it or taste it, like when it comes to
That's
different
true.
mineral things. And so maybe he was just one of these Rhydonium pirates and had to smell it so many times for work that he became, that something started in terms of addiction.
Yeah, I like that
Could be.
idea. That makes sense. Like you have to check someone has to check the product. Uh,
Yeah, like it's not like it could be that I just feel like there's a portrayal of it being like, oh, he's got this thing that he does to take his mind off things. Like maybe not. Maybe it's actually just like a byproduct of his previous job.
yeah. I mean, it probably started that way and then turned into more. I mean, okay, did anyone else ever have a point in their life? I did as a kid where I really loved smelling the gas station gas.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Like whenever my parents would get gas, I would really like to be outside and smell it. Just a thing I liked to do as a kid. I thought it smelled very good. Um,
Yeah.
Now that I know what it is, like I don't enjoy it, but that it's only because I have different associations with it in my brain now. Well, he explains how he first got a whiff of it by accident. I
Yeah.
don't remember.
That
How did he first
could
get a
play
whiff of
into
it?
any. I don't really remember that,
Yeah, I don't remember
but
either.
I that makes sense. But it also doesn't clarify. Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, surely.
Oh, they had a leak. Okay, that's right. They had a leak. That's how he first sniffed it. That's right. He said it was the Rhino. They had a leak. You could feel it before you could smell it. So they all panicked and ran away, but it was new to me. Anyway, but I think Wilmon also smelling it was kind of it was a powerful moment. It was kind of scary. It was like I don't know, watching someone give into peer pressure and doing something potentially quite dangerous, but it seemed like he also needed some sort of a relief, like a release from something, and it possibly provided that.
Do we have information about what it feels like to inhale rhydonium? Like, is
I
it
don't know.
a good feeling?
I don't know. I'm not sure how literally to take Saw's description. Like I know he says that itch, that burn, but I think that's more in the thinking about it. And yeah, everyone started to itch. You could feel your skin coming alive. I don't know. So
Yeah, I'm getting the
maybe
feeling
itching,
it's
but
just actively painful. So that it's not the kind of thing that actually provides an amount of relief to like of any kind, unless, well, that's not true.
we have that if you breathe it
Yeah,
too much, you will explode from inside out. Yeah, so the itch is probably like because it wants to explode or something. I think he said. Um, it maybe it feel makes you feel on the edge of something, like excited. Maybe
I don't know,
took
like
Saw
whenever
very
I like
literally.
chop a jalapeno, I try really hard to like not breathe intensely close to the jalapeno because that will like the smell particles will like burn your nose. So I'm assuming this is much worse, much intense than a jalapeno. And uh yeah,
I
rhydonium.
I took Saw very literally. I think breathing it is painful and bad. Yeah, okay. I think probably it is.
Mm-hmm.
Alf G says, I was hoping for a new theme for the protesters. They really need a good rallying song. So I think, so we did get music associated with Gorman And then we also got diegetic like chants and stuff.
Mm.
I guess I don't know if it probably doesn't count as a theme, but I do think we got like at least one theme. And I don't know whether it's associated more with memories of the Tarkin massacre or with the strength of the Gorman people or something, but it was this thing. It was like sorry, it was very slow. Did you all catch that?
Mm.
It was slower than that. It was often on a horn, and it reminded me of the "It Can't Be" from Revenge of the Sith, like. Um, yeah, but they talked. It showed up like at the town hall meeting, and like when they're remembering what Tarkin massacre stuff happened multiple times throughout at least a couple episodes.
I think that the makeup of that melodic and harmonic content of the Gorman theme sets us up really nicely for some emotional pain in the future. I feel like that just that kind of sound world is kind of nice right now because of the way it is, but there's a lot of potential for it to grow and be really sad and super romantic with a capital R.
Yeah, and already it was like very much had the. I'd say it already kind of had a sad,
Mm.
bittersweet, like memorial feeling to it. But also,
Totally,
I'm
I
associating it
guess.
with.
That also sounds a little pastoral to me,
Yeah,
maybe.
it does. But it, yeah. Did anyone in chat catch that? I know Ender did.
You said it was at 35:45 in your picture or in your,
Oh yeah.
and we're in episode 4.
Mm-hmm. So 35, 45. And it's part of. It's like in the town hall. And if you
Hmm.
look at the soundtrack, which is out on Spotify, the Arc 2 soundtrack, it's in the one called Palmo Town Hall. And then also there is like something else that's part of it that is like a descending.
Hmm.
They did a lot of that where it's like a descending, I guess you could say G sharp Phrygian scale, or like it's an E major,
Hmm.
but it starts on G sharp. So it's,
Hmm.
and I think the use of scales in Andor for themes is interesting. I'm like, there are so many different themes that are basically just scales, but like different modes, perhaps like
Hmm.
different scales, different qualities of a scale. I don't know if that's a coincidence or if that is intentionally a tactic, because I think it is a cool tactic. It actually is surprisingly effective.
Yeah, why don't what how would you describe the difference between that approach and like not scales? Uh, I think it's interesting to talk more about what makes that unique, or
Yeah.
maybe not
So
unique, but interesting.
yeah, I think what makes it unique is a scale, kind of like going in order of notes, like is usually thought of as more of a building block from which to pick and choose different notes in different orders and create a little bit of music, like, but simply having the building block be the music is, I think it's unique. It's not necessarily.
Do you think that has more in common with how a lot of electronic music works?
That's a good question.
For some reason, that seems relevant to me. Um,
Can you think of an example?
I mean, part of me thinks of just how, I mean, using the phrase electronic music is already kind of a problem because it's like saying instrumental music.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think of a lot of music that has just a lot of like a chord playing, and that counts as a theme in a lot of music. And so our idea of, I feel like in older classical music, it has to be very complex in order to count as something. But nowadays, you can just be like, oh, just by choosing these instruments, that already is a choice. That's already a theme. Or just by choosing these notes, that's already a thing. So maybe it's, yeah, sort of a different approach to complexity and to what counts, maybe?
Interesting. Okay, so you're saying that like in electronic music or whatever, it may be characterized by simply doing a chord, like or something, and not having very much melodic interest on top of that or anything, like where it's very simple and chordy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think I realized one thing I'm saying is I think music, so back in the day, I think people didn't have access to a wide variety of music in especially in terms of available scales and available notes. But nowadays, with the worldwide stage, there's a huge diversity of music and sounds. And so there, like back in the day, if you didn't make your scale a little bit interesting, then it didn't stand out from everybody else's scales or all of your other scales because everybody was playing the same kind of notes on the same kind of. They were all too similar. So maybe nowadays just choosing a scale is already saying, okay, yeah, I chose to go with this um, style of music. But I will point out that I was just listening to like a radio interview, and a composer was being interviewed, and they were talking about all of these interesting, exciting things. And then when the music played, I was like, oh, actually, there's almost nothing going on, and all of these exciting things were actually just really small things. Uh, from my perspective, but clearly the composer and the person interviewing them perceived them as really big things. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
okay.
I mean, it
So
sounded to me like mostly just lots of chords with some sounds.
so going back to what you said about how like back in the day there wasn't as much to pick from when putting together music, and now we have a lot more parameters that we can play with. I think you're saying like we have control over not just what melodies and what notes we intend, but also it's easier for more people to control the instrument and the timbre and just layering. Like we just have many more music creation tools um,
Yeah.
to make sound worlds that didn't like 300 years ago. So now I think simply, for example, having the bass flute, the bass recorder for the Mandalorian, or simply like having the dulcimer used in the Gorman Waltz, or simply having a theremin for Kim in Skeleton Crew is is what makes it that, rather than like
Yeah.
the actual instructions of the music, which is like what the music, like what the thing people compose is usually. Um, okay, so a couple things I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of like color studies, like paintings that are just like one color, or that are just like
Mm.
very simple studies of like a technique, where various people believe it's not art, and some people see the get something out of it. Some different people, some people get more out of it than others. Um, I'm thinking also of what one intends with a scale, because in Andor, at least I feel like there are obviously a couple themes, but I think in season 1 interviews, Nicholas Bertel was saying like that he didn't want like super leitmotivic kind of score, and Tony Gilroy and him, they wanted it to be more flexible, and so I don't think he is necessarily trying to do a ton of leitmotifs or something. So maybe having scales just drop in to like other just to various cues, but the quality of the scale is different, is maybe meant to be kind of an adornment or like an accoutrement or something. Um, like maybe it is intended to be something small. Like it's not that he's trying to do some grand theme and lo and behold, it's just a scale. Um, but then also, I think part of his score is about the sound that he's getting from the synths, like the way is about the production of it. So juxtaposed with like very simple music, maybe that's more effective. Like maybe it gets us to pay attention to something else, or maybe it's like maybe there's a grand plan somewhere where it's like let's litter scales throughout this score, but different qualities of scales. So it's kind of a subtle way that everything is woven together, but it's a little bit different quality for different situations. I don't know.
I think it does spark a conversation. As you were speaking, there were a few things that you said that I realized, oh, maybe your definition of that word is challenged by how he deals with scales. So A, when you say the music, blah blah blah, maybe the music doesn't refer to the, maybe you could have said notes there instead of music, because the music could just be the sound, right?
Mm-hmm.
It makes us kind of redefine what is music. And then when you were saying like littered, like let's just litter scales throughout, another way to say that would be, why don't we plant some seed scales? Some there could be like a positive way to say that,
Oh yeah, and I mean
uh,
it
other
positively.
than not that you meant it, because I think you didn't mean it badly, but I think that's exactly what maybe we're noticing is that like it maybe has been frowned upon to just do a scale. It's kind of considered lazy, maybe. Um, or it could be considered lazy, and maybe it shouldn't be. I don't know. If not,
I think, yeah, I think what's interesting about the scales here is that it really commits to it. It's not just like five notes or
mhm.
like it goes on for quite a bit, which is I think what makes it feel more interesting. Um,
Yeah,
and also, I think there are different, as Frank Lehman would say, like leitmotivic particles that can be excised, that can come together to make a grand statement of a theme, but also you can strip different parts of it. So like there's often like just the chord progression playing, or sometimes a hint of the instrument that is associated with a theme, sometimes just a scale. So like I think there are lots of different things, because like the Gorman, this descending scale that I'm talking about is part of like a bigger piece that has the other thing that I was mentioning, the or whatever. Um, it's just kind of dotted in there, like just once every now and then. So maybe it is like helpful to have, at least in film scoring, particles that you can call upon individually or separately to remind us of the fuller thing.
yeah.
I noticed during the town hall when Cyril was talking to one of the Gorman front, the music was gloomy. But when Enzo Rylands introduced herself to Cyril, the music shifted to lighter and hopeful. Mm.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm
That
expecting
scene
this to.
really frustrated me.
Why?
I guess I was overly frustrated with the rebels for being so obnoxiously trusting of Cyril. They're like, he showed up,
I
and
know.
I guess like I see like this kind of like hope and optimism in their faces, and I guess I'm sad about probably seeing that crushed later on. I could be wrong, but I mean, I think that's kind of part of the drama of Andor. But Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
It's like they're
you
presenting
just know they're
something
going to get
pretty
crushed.
and yeah, so it can be crushed.
Yeah. Like they're so resilient and everything, but yeah, they're not ready for what's to come probably. Um, yeah, Cyril's kind of his storyline intrigued me and also frustrated me a little bit because it seemed like he genuinely is, even though he's like undercover, he is learning more about the Gorman people. So I'm curious how much he's taking anything to heart, or if it's all just like, yay, I have some fodder for the ISB. I feel like if something happened in his life, like Dedra broke up with him or something, I don't know. If something really shattered his world, I could see him having more of a chance of fully supporting Gorman. But yeah, it also was scary to see them trust him. He did a good job
Yeah,
acting the part, though.
absolutely. They did. There's also the language that they're speaking,
Yep.
the
Pseudo
the
French.
non-basic, non-English language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Frenchy kind of
Mm-hmm.
Franco-Rush, Frank. It was kind of a little Slavic and a little French, maybe to me, but mostly
Hmm.
French. I don't know. I also don't speak French, so
I'm expecting the series to end on a resistance song sung by the Gorman survivors.
a space in Marseille.
I can see that.
Yeah,
I mean, they've kind of already done,
yeah.
there's precedent in the show for that sort of thing, because it kind of vibes similar to the Ferrex band. And also, we've seen plenty of like ceremonial and, traditional musics like on Aldani with the eye and everything. So that would be cool.
Mhm.
Dedra is using Cyril, so there's a slight chance of him switching sides when he finds out. Yeah, that was
Totally.
kind of, yeah. I hope their relationship lasts, but not if it means that we have someone else supporting the rebellion. Maybe they both switch sides. I don't know.
Yeah, that's their arc is one of the more fascinating.
Yeah, agreed.
I liked when there was an Imperial sweep or an ISB sweep of Cyril's office at 7 minutes into episode 5.
Hmm.
Um, I sort of liked the sweeping orchestral lines there, but also I like Cyril's experiencing real frustration with the ISB on a level that's totally unrelated to him and Dedra. So yeah, I think that's very
Yeah.
interesting.
Also, he has reason to, as the Gorman people were saying, that he has reason to hold a grudge because the ISB, they, what is it called, like fired him or whatever. They don't think highly of
Hmm.
Cyril, at least on his record.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Someone
Oh,
mentioned, yeah, okay. I agree with Justin on the radio sounds. My father had a shortwave radio when I was growing up, and it reminded me of that. What did you think of that episode 5 opening? Like the Andor theme, where the Andor theme normally is, and it was just like tons of, radio stuff. I thought that was very cool.
I think that's very nice.
Yeah. It was kind of one of those delightful
Even I
moments
feel.
in the show. Yeah, it was a moment of delight and surprise, like doing something completely unexpected, I think.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Another
that lead
small moment that I really liked. Oh, keep going
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
if you're still in the same moment. This is, I guess, just a sound design moment in episode 5, uh, kind of at Saw with Saw and Willman. Um, right before like 35 minutes in, or I guess right before 36 minutes in, there's a spit roasting with a beast of some kind. I don't know, whatever. There's clearly an animal being roasted, but Willman takes like a very crunchy bite of it, and I just felt like the eating sound, the sounds of the spit roasting, and then him crunching on the meat were very interesting and created a sort. I feel like it well described what the texture of uh, the food he was eating was, and then we also saw the food being prepared. I liked that.
So was it too well done? What?
I mean, I thought it was very effective. I thought,
No, I
oh
mean,
yeah,
was the
that's
meat too well done?
Oh, I don't know. I have a feeling that the ideal there is that the fire creates a crunch on the outside, but then everything on the inside is tender because it's like a slow crunch thing. And then
Mm,
maybe
mhm.
you're also like pouring some kind of slightly sweet or oily substance on the outside that causes it to harden.
Mm, interesting. Um, I was going to say earlier let's see, episode 5. No, we were talking about what were we talking about just prior to this? Oh yeah, of the radio sound, um,
Hmm.
which leads us to probably Clea discussion. Um,
Hmm.
Clea, we often hear a thing with Clea that is related to a thing we hear with Mon Mothma, which I think is an overall series of espionage themed music. And with Clea, it's like,
Hmm.
um, yeah, and we do hear that here. She was kind of, I liked her argument with Luthen about why they
Yeah,
bugged the thing, or Luthen being upset about that.
absolutely. Yeah, I feel like Luthen essentially was just feeling overwhelmed and unable to deal with his feelings about it, and she was really successfully saying like, no, 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 like your overwhelmed feelings about this are not important. We just have to like deal with what it is, and we're always taking risks like this.
Hmm.
That's why we have to be diligent. Um, and then I also really, I don't know if you're ready to already move on to when they're actually removing the bug,
Yeah, yeah, let's do
but
that.
pretty impressive. Uh, I loved I mean, I really enjoyed hearing about the culture that created the art piece. That was very interesting. That they just have really sent a lot of physical sensory data flowing through their bodies, and so running their hands along that sculpture was very meaningful and kind of braille sort of a way. Um,
I loved that. I think like whoever came up with the idea for that art piece and designed it, I think it was just brilliant. Like, because I was like, why are they touching it? Like, is that going to be obvious? But then it is how you read it. So, and then her taking the
mhm,
like debugging it, I didn't know what that would look like, but it was a lot more involved than I expected.
mhm,
Like, the microphone was bigger than I expected. The everything was like, I still don't quite understand what was happening. Like, it looked like she had to unscrew something. Like, did they add something to the sculpture? It makes me think that Davo himself probably doesn't inspect his art very thoroughly because how could he miss this? But yeah,
It
she
seems like there
did.
was a sort of support pipe on the bottom and it had a opening, and so she had to screw off the lid to the opening and then reach inside and then pry the microphone away from where it was sealed. It was probably like glued or something.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
she had
Right.
to
So it
use
was
her
in.
hairpin or her brooch
Hmm.
thing to do that, and like her hand was bleeding.
Yeah.
And she maintained, I mean, yeah, her ability to control their friend from ISB
Yeah.
was very impressive.
Poor Lonnie. He must be so stressed all of the time.
Lonnie.
Like, Luthen scares the shit out of him every time they meet, pretty much. And I feel like
Yeah.
Luthen adopts like a scarier edge to his voice when he's meeting with Lonnie. I don't know what you think. It feels like even gruffer and more hardcore.
Yeah, he does not treat Lonnie very well. Um,
No.
very nicely. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Luthen's willing to sacrifice people too. Vel and Cinta probably more valuable to him alive. I mean, sorry, separate. Um, there's that whole thing. But yeah, I like
yeah,
that
I
you're
think when
saying,
Cassian finds out, oh, totally. Yeah, I think when Cassian finds out that Luthen sent Cinta and Vel to the rebels that he clearly stated were not safe to work with because they're too impatient and have a skewed view of their relationship with the Empire, I think. Yeah, I think he he will be pretty upset, especially finding out that I mean it's exactly what he said would happen. Like
yeah,
Cinta gets killed just because of the one rebel who's just like to all sorts of things. To
yeah, yeah,
yeah, it'll be a big learning experience for that rebel,
yeah.
I
And
suppose.
hopefully for Luthen, because I mean, even though he's willing to sacrifice people, there are obviously certain people fighting in the rebellion that are very valuable, like are very capable, like Cassian, like Vel
Mhm.
and Cinta is kind of a big loss.
Yeah, I think when Vel finds out that Cassian recommended Luthen not to send anyone is going to be even more upsetting because she's going to realize that Luthen sent expendably sent them somewhere, essentially.
Yeah,
Um, maybe, yeah, I think Vel's wrath might be a thing coming up.
yeah. I thought her monologue, her what she told the kid that shot Cinta was so excellent.
Hmm.
Yeah. It is quite fun
I
that
also
both
think
sides
that
are
the
overwhelmed. Oh yeah, Luth and Clea have too many radio signals, and the Empire have too many prisoners to interrogate. I like that as well.
Mhm.
I like seeing the Empire's weak spots and just what they are overwhelmed with, because I think growing up is easy to see the Empire as just all powerful, can do anything and can do everything, and even they have limits. And I don't know, it's good to see that, because then it makes it easier to see how rebel um, attacks, or how rebel efforts can sometimes make a difference. Which we're kind of, we're dealing with this now. Like, um, there are all these like tips on how to discourage ICE from capturing people to deport them. And a lot of it is, if you make it difficult, like if you just make it extremely inconvenient, like you actually, can deter ICE and other people. So like if you're a kind of a pain in their ass, if you physically block pathways to make it hard for them, like every bit of like resistance, rather than just being like, oh, they're the Empire, or like, oh, they're ICE, we better, whatever, it's all over. Like, kind of not taking the it's all over approach, and just being willing to at least be a thorn in their side, at least maybe slow them down. Like it could slow their rate down at least. Um,
Mhm.
we really see that in this show, like how these small efforts can make a little bit of a difference at least.
Yeah.
Having too many prisoners really illustrates, the more you tighten your tighten your grip, the more star systems will slip through your fingers. Yeah.
Hmm. Yep.
Luthen goes back to Clea
Absolutely.
and brags that he made Lonnie crap his pants again. Yeah. What were you saying before, Christina?
I do not remember. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
Um,
Mm,
we got diegetic. We got a lot. Again, we got a lot of diegetic music. We're really spoiled for diegetic music in the show. I've lost track so long ago. We had grocery store music. We had like protest chanting. We had various like party music things. Um, we had Good Morning Coruscant, the talk show, had a little had a little theme. We had some techno later. Like we got a lot. We got a lot.
We did. It's a ripe world, and
Mm-hmm.
we also got another clue on what the Dr. Gore's torture techniques are, mostly just because because his body was clearly having a really intense response. So now we know that it was something that isn't just awful sounds, but some kind of awful sounds that make your body do things.
Right. Do you think it's related to the thing in The Mandalorian season 3? Um, do you remember what I'm thinking about? I can't remember her name. Um, there was like a doctor character, and there was like
Mm,
it was kind of in the first half of the season, and there's like the rehabilitated former Empire people in the New Republic, and there's what is the Love
right.
Lies? Kate, what was the Katie O'Brien? Was that her name? The Mind Flayer thing. Yes, the Mind Flayer.
Hmm. Yeah, the mind
Yeah,
flare.
is that related to Dr. Gorst?
I think it could be.
Yeah, it reminded me of it.
Although I thought the mind flare also involved an injection, but
Oh, did it?
I don't really remember. Yeah, maybe we need to clarify our torture technique timeline of the Empire.
Yeah, I just know that there was like a voltage thing that she turned all the
Hmm.
way up, and that also happened. Yeah, that happened in both Mandalorian and this.
Hmm. That makes sense. Of
Do
course,
you think he?
the Emperor loved that technique. He's like, not only can I spread pain throughout the galaxy. Yeah, that's
Do you think he died in this episode? In that episode?
Gorst.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Although
I
I
guess.
doubt his research was actually destroyed or anything, I feel like the project is still just going to continue without him.
Yeah, I think that's very likely as well. I guess it might not have been a voltage meter. It may have just been volume or something.
Maybe, or like levels of intensity of some other kinds that aren't volume, like layering of, I don't know.
How tight the grip is. I don't know.
Yeah, surely they have like a version that's just like a little bit bad so that because part of the point is for interrogation.
Yeah.
So,
There was this.
sorry,
There was
put
a
this
cool
down.
bit of music in episode 4.
Hmm.
Haven't practiced
That's
it, but
cute.
it was the Gorman Waltz, according to the soundtrack. I thought it was a
Nice.
really really fun little cue. It lasted quite a long time, and it was kind of like a wonky sounding waltz. It got like several of the notes feel like they're wrong. Like for example, or I'll put it on the screen. Um, Almost like it's either a broken piano, like it had kind of like a I don't know a creepy. I don't know what is happening
It wasn't
here.
perfectly tuned to Western temperament.
Something like that. Yeah, yeah. Because if you look at the one, two, like the second and third measure, like the first two measures where there are eighth notes, it's like because we're in E minor, so it's and then it's like instead of going or something like it's like it yeah, weirdo accidentals exactly. It that's what it sounded like to me.
Do you think it's like the little spiders?
Maybe.
or trying to evoke the movement of the spider on the webs being kind of like yeah,
Honestly,
you
maybe.
know, now that once you played it that way, I feel like it evokes spider.
Yeah, it kind of did. Would you get a Gorman spider, by the way?
I guess
Cyril has
I
too
would
many of
definitely
them.
give one to my mother.
Would your mother appreciate that?
I don't know. I also think it'd be a good gift exchange item.
I think it would be a good gift exchange item in the Star Wars universe. I think actually it could be as well here. Okay, the thing about the spiders that is creepy is the sound they make when they're like hit when Cyril like puts them on like the
Uh-huh.
ledge. It's like
Huh.
it's like the spider is very hardened and it's just a very loud clack. Or I'm like, but I don't know. Would it be better if it were a soft spider? Probably not. Um, yeah.
Also, those are just spider sculptures, right?
Oh, are they? I thought
Like,
they were like hardened real
I don't know.
spiders. I don't know.
Now that you point it out, like they could be real spiders that were like hardened or something, but surely not. Also, spiders that are hairy like that, a lot of times the hairs are actually little barbed spines that stick in the skins of anyone who touches them.
Lovely. I'm not clear on how real they are. Okay, do you all think the Gorman spiders are real? Um, or not? Like taxidermy spiders or something is what I thought. Mother's Day is coming right up. Get your
I'm
mom the gift
laughing
that
at
says "Love you always," a Gorman spider. That's funny because it's definitely on my
you.
to-do
It's
list this
funny.
week to make my mom a Mother's Day card. I think I might skip the spider though.
No, you need to do the Gorman spider.
In sixth grade, when like our orchestra class went to Disneyland, um, my parents gave me $20 for the day and for food or whatever if I wanted to buy something. It may have been $50, I don't know. But what I chose to buy was a big rubber snake from like the Indiana Jones area and um, placed it in front of my mom when I got home. I think I spent like most of the money I had on that snake, whatever they gave me. It's like, yeah, the snake. I definitely want this snake. I can't resist the snake. It
Yeah,
was pretty cool.
shock value.
Yeah.
I
I
also
think,
like that the Gormans have a nice relationship with spiders because they are something that we have this kind of stigma of scariness with, and so I like to see portrayal of a culture that embraces them and is in fact not scared at all and even uh,
well,
friendly.
don't you think that we would also learn how to love spiders if they were our primary source of income for our nation as well? Like, I feel like the spiders make
Totally.
them money, so they have to be okay with the spiders. That's how they get their money.
Yeah.
I think we've only seen one real spider in the shop when Cassian meets the resistance leader, and it's quite small.
Mm.
I
And in the
think,
video,
yeah, I think it
the
is
promotional video.
interesting that Luthen distrusts. What's his name? Sorry, there's an alarm. Some car alarm is going off outside, so I can't focus on anything
Not
except for the car
lying.
alarm. The businessman Rylands or something doesn't trust him because he's
Mm-hmm.
like a rich guy, but even he has had enough. Um, so I'm like, do we trust Rylands? Is he taking up
Mm.
like yeah, just Luthen's alarm bells? He something is flagged in his mind with regard to Rylands, so makes me distrust him too because he's a rich guy.
Yeah, I think that because of his privilege, he doesn't. It seems like he isn't able to. Like, that's kind of the problem with his sect of the rebels, is that they aren't really in touch. with much, and they think that what they do will have a big impact because they don't realize that what they do doesn't matter yet. However, I point out that the person who, oh, this is what I was going to say earlier. The person who was involved in the shooting of Cinta was the other leader, the one who had kind of the guy who showed up
Oh,
to he was the other businessman at the meeting who had garnered a lot of support from the industry. And so I get the feeling that the two, like, I don't think it is a coincidence that he showed up. I think he realized, like, oh, Rylance and his people are doing this, and maybe the guy also has a rebel movement, and he's just like maybe there's two rebel movements, the Rylance one and the one of the guy um who was, trying to, I think he was trying, I'm not really sure what he was trying to do, but I think it was good the way he was like, is this a toy that you're holding? Like why do you have a gun? And then he was very immediately, he saw what was going on. He's like, I'll carry her. Um, yeah, I get the feeling that he's going to be a leader moving forward on the Gorman front.
interesting. Yeah. I look forward to seeing how that unfolds. On my Discord
Yeah.
server, someone asked who is a week behind and just watched the first arc, asked a couple questions, and now I'm hoping to source answers from people what they think. So, question number one was, are we going to get a single non human character with a speaking role? I think we did in this arc. I think there was like a senator
Hmm.
alien, um, at least. And
Oh,
then
testifying or joining the Senate. Yeah. Mhm.
and then number two, is there any chance the pace picks up after the first arc? So do you think the pace picked up in arc 2 versus arc 1? And do you think the pace needed or needs to pick up further? How do you feel about the pace?
I don't know how I feel about the pace, but one of the first things I heard from somebody who was researching this on the internet, so I'm just saying this is from a friend, I don't know if it's true, but they said that the amount of time that happens in the first three episodes in the first arc is very spaced out, and they actually, so it like takes place over like a year or something like that. It's big, it's kind of macro time. But then the next arc, it takes place over a much shorter period of time, and they were saying that that's actually a plan for it to be like
More compressed as we
increasingly
go?
shorter amounts of time. Yeah, so like the arc covers a shorter span of time increasingly. I don't
Oh,
know if that's
interesting.
true, but that would be a fascinating take. And that is honestly how a lot of stories work. You learn the world, you learn the big things. It takes a long time for these people to like move to a different planet. But then towards the end of the book, or book, of course, towards the end of the thing, you're on a minute by minute basis with drama.
Yeah, I can see that. And just thinking how they're trying to lead up into Rogue One, directly into the first minute of Rogue One, in order for
Mhm.
that effect to work, it does kind of have to be more compressed, I think.
Mhm. Rogue One is very compressed.
That's true.
It's so much drama over a short period of time, and it's like so much tragedy in just like a day, or I mean more than a day. But
Yeah. Do you think we're going to get Jin?
and then at the end, when the planet is about to be destroyed, when they're about to die, then moment suddenly slows down, and they just have to sit and wait. But
Yeah.
time.
The video shows them first up close, so they look massive, but then show a spider on someone's hand. Of course, there might be enormous spider queens we haven't seen yet. Um,
Yeah,
true. We have seen very big
big
spiders in The
spiders, but
Mandalorian as
tiny.
well. And then the pacing was off in this arc. They repeated the forgery, check everything into 4 times, while Cyntha's death and Bix's mission could use a bit more time. I actually think
Mhm.
so. I think Cyntha's death and Bix's mission. I'll concentrate on Cyntha's death first. I think Cyntha's death could have used more time if also it were scored differently. I don't think I could have
Mm.
withstood longer of that action with the same music. So, but maybe if they gave more time to Cinta's death, and maybe that whole operation, then maybe the music maybe it would have been scored differently.
Mhm.
I wasn't bothered by the pacing
Fix's
overall,
mission
though. What did you say, Christina?
and Vix's mission.
Yeah, Bix's mission. I feel like that was just tacked on at the end. We didn't hear them talk about it. We just saw it, which I think was
Hmm.
fine. That was fine for me. Um, yeah, I could have used more if they were going to, if they wanted to explain more and if it were interesting. So, what do you think of the pacing, Christina?
I I don't have a strong relationship with caring about pacing. I'm pretty, I guess I'll say like whimsical as a person. Sometimes I can handle a slow pace, and other times I have no patience for it. It apparently I don't know. It's not something I tend to notice or worry about. So.
I think
But
it's
I
hard.
have been able to watch the episodes. In general, when anything is live action, I struggle to pay attention for more than like 20 or 30 minutes, probably because I'm so used to watching anime at approximately 25 minutes an episode, and so I tend to want to take a break. But with Andor, I have watched the entire episode all the way through, which is not common for me.
Interesting. Yeah, how is everyone watching these? Are you trying to watch all three in one night, like consecutively, or are you splitting it up? You're splitting it up, Christina?
I try to do one or two in night.
Hmm. What about other people?
So you're watching them all the first night, right?
I'm watching them all the first night, and if I were not doing a YouTube thing about it, I th- it's possible that I would split them up. But then I'd also be afraid of spoilers, and so for me, watching things immediately
Mm.
often is just like I feel like I have to because I don't want any spoilers. Like I will get really upset if something is spoiled. So, but then I also feel like I need to watch them immediately because then what we only have like Tuesday, Wednesday, like 5 days to prepare. And before we do these, I try to record the episode audio wise so that the band batch has something easier to scrub through when we're preparing. Um, and I don't want, yeah. So I feel that I
Hmm.
have to start earlier. I'm trying to do them all in one night, but my 57-year-old body ain't liking it. If we were on the East Coast, I don't think I couldn't do I couldn't do three in a night. If they were starting at 9 p.m.,
Is anyone
yeah.
watching them for breakfast?
Is anyone watching it during breakfast?
I've just noticed we were saying night pretty consistently. Is anybody a daytime Andor watcher?
Mm.
I distinctly don't think I would want to start my day watching Andor.
Yeah, probably not. Also, I would want to be like in a darker room while watching it, just so that the glare from the screen isn't
Yeah, it
horrible.
is pretty dark. Um, like the screen is kind of dark, or like everything that's happening in the show happens in dark places except in key Imperial locations, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and so there's a lot of opportunity for reflecting on the screen, and I have a friend with a projector, and they were really struggling to watch the show because it's just kind of dark.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah. Are you watching it on a projector? Because I know you have a projector.
Sometimes, and it is a little dark on the projector, but it's not dark at all on my phone. So
Hmm.
I don't pretend
Interesting.
to know too much about that. Um,
Interesting.
yeah.
The Masked Jedi says, I struggle to watch and digest the three in a week. Yep. I still wish they weren't doing it. Um, yeah, I do. I do. However, I think I like the separation of a year between each arc. I don't think that means we needed to have the whole year in one sitting, but I do like having the time jumps because it kind of edits the level of detail that we get. Like, we know what is going to happen to Tay, so maybe we don't need to see the whole thing about it. And like, other relationships, like we see that Bix and Andor have gotten together. I'm kind of glad we didn't see the whole like process of that happening. I kind of like that we can just
Hmm.
jump into it and yeah.
Yep.
So binge all 3 episodes ASAP. Maybe that's why when the assistant told Clay about the forgery, I shouted, "I know, get on with it." Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think I like the binge method. I don't like having to hold plot points over the course of weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. I
Mm.
enjoy being able to process them in a shorter period of time.
Okay, so you might be the first person I've talked to that likes the 3 episodes a week.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with like 2 episodes a week as well, but I honestly think 1 episode a week is almost always frustrating to me.
Hmm.
There's not that many things that I want to, yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like my memory of these episodes this week is it's easier to make connections because I'm seeing the stuff. I don't have to I don't have to rewatch every episode so that I can then I feel like when only 1 episode a week is released, I almost want to watch the previous week's episode and then watch the current week's episode. Whereas with the binge thing, you can just watch them and you haven't forgotten the previous week because they just happened.
Yeah, fair point. Um, I'm like mostly done with my notes, but I do want to say just one more
Me
thing
too.
about Gorman's musical world is I think that they're using a lot of dulcimer for that, for Gorman.
Yeah, I could see that or hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like a zither and it's like the strings are hit with hammers. Um, yeah, maybe we'll get some cool dulcimer music next arc.
Yeah. I hope for that.
It's probably going to get stressful, even more stressful.
Hmm.
Do you have anything else that you didn't get to say? Any more music and sound and or thoughts?
Nope.
Cool. All right, chat. Well, I think that's all we have for today. Let us
Yay.
know if you have any predictions or hopes for the next few episodes, musically, sound wise. I do hope we get that doorbell again. Whoever had that really
Hmm.
cool doorbell. Um, and I would like to hear more aliens talking, but I also think it's
Yes.
okay not to. But yeah, we shall see how Brandon
Oh yeah.
Roberts handles most of the rest of the series. All right. Oh, we have a lingering. Thank you both. Great show. Thank you for coming. Glad you could make it live today.
Yes.
Well,
Thank you.
oh, I should have gotten Justin's. Okay, wait. Do I have Justin's Niamos track? I don't think I have it. I have the bad one. Okay, we'll play the bad one that he made fun of last week. Um, all right. See you all next week. And yes, I would like this too. Maybe an artist playing a song in a Gorman bar. Yes, I want that. Good note to end on.
Yeah. That
All
would be
right.
nice.
Next week we're streaming on Sunday actually. Um,
Woo.
Sunday the 11th, same time, 1 p.m. Okay. All right. Bye everyone.